Okay, let's take a few minutes and get acquainted with Eclipse. So this is our main work area here. The Package Explorer is where you'll see all of the different projects that you're working on. Here is the main code editor where you do most of your editing. And here you can have various support panels in place that help you get your work done. There's also a few on the bottom here. So basically, Eclipse is very configurable, so you can easily take a panel from one side of the screen and dock it with another side of the screen. So you can see now I've gotten more code area and I've combined all of the panels into one section. I can even close it. I can also collapse panels, giving myself more room, and bring them back anytime that I want. I can do that for pretty much anything on the screen. Now, anything that I customized, I can always reset or get back. For example, if I go to Window, Show View, and then select Project Explorer, you can see my Project Explorer is now back. So one of the first things that's a little bit less than intuitive here in Eclipse that I'd like to start with is how to import an Android project into Eclipse. Something that's already written that you want to bring in because you want to continue working on it because you started it on another computer, or in the case of our class, something that you've downloaded from our website and now want to test and work with in your own environment. So here I downloaded a Hello World application that we create in this lesson, and I'm going to import it into my Eclipse environment. So the way you do that is actually you start a new project in Eclipse. So there's a couple of ways that you can get to that point. You can click on Create, or really New option here in Eclipse, or you can select the New Project Wizard. Okay, this is Android specific. I'm going to click on that. So you can see I get a dialog box that has the Android logo, and it's asking me for a project name and has a bunch of settings here that we'll need to fill out. So let's start with the project name. I'm going to call this Hello World Import. Now the next step is to decide whether it's a new project that Eclipse is going to create for us in the workspace, or if we have existing code that we want to import. So this is the critical piece here. I'm going to say create project from existing source, and now I'm going to click the browse button and navigate over to the hard drive. I'm going to close program files. I'm going to navigate over to projects, and here in projects I have lesson 1 Hello World. I'm going to select that and click OK. You can see it immediately picked up on the fact that this is a Android 2.2 application, so it selected the correct version of the SDK for us, and certainly we can switch it since we're using 2.3. I'm going to switch that. On the bottom here, it created the necessary application name, package name, and the selected the SDK version. And I'm going to click Finish to import this information in. So now you can see I have a project here that is imported into my application. I can expand it in the Project Explorer. This is the Java file, and I can open the code file. Now, if I was editing this application, I wanted more room for my editor, and I wanted to get rid of some of these windows around me here, I can simply click in this blank area here, and you can see that they all collapse and it expands the area that you click on. So this gives me a bigger code window to work with, and I can quickly and effortlessly make my changes. So you can see I'm actually making a mess of this right now. Okay, and what I want to demonstrate here is some of the cool features of Eclipse. Eclipse can actually clean that up. I'm going to right click on an empty spot. I'm going to go over to Source, and I'm going to select Format, and you can see Eclipse put everything back together again the way it should look. Nice, neat, clean code. I'm going to double click on that area again to bring back the rest of my panels. I'm going to save my work. And now if I wanted to run it, I've got my options on top here that'll actually execute my project. There's a debug perspective and there's also a run option. So I'm going to click the run option. I'm going to select Android application and click OK. And you can see the console is returning some information about what it's actually doing. Console is a sort of a generic term. We could run Java code through output of Java code here in the console, but we can also see what it's doing as it relates to the Android SDK. So because I have an AVD up and running, you can see this is the output of my application. So it immediately comes up and is available in my AVD. If the AVD wasn't running, it would be launched at this time. If I had more than one AVD open, which you can certainly do, then the application Eclipse would actually ask you which one you'd want to target. Okay, some of the other cool features here are, since there's so many windows and panels and features here in Eclipse, it's very difficult to have everything up front and in front of you. So a lot of options are actually available in Window, Show View, and you can locate something specific that you're looking for. For example, under Android, we have something called an emulator control. If I open up that panel, one of the things that I can do is, for example, trigger a simulated phone call to my AVD. Okay, so now my AVD is actually receiving a phone call. Okay, I'm going to hang up and I'm going to close the emulator control. Okay, next let's take a look at a few nifty code editing features. So here I have a Java file open, and you can see as I hover over things, it gives me additional information about those things. So these are little hints that can really help you when you're developing, especially if you're not too familiar with the different methods and classes that you're working with. Another interesting thing that you can do is highlight something and press Shift F2 on the keyboard. It's actually going to launch a new browser and take you to the exact section of the Android SDK or Java documentation for identifying what it is that you've clicked on. So you can get more information about each and every class and component that you're working with here in Eclipse. Now Eclipse compiles your Java application pretty much in real time. That means if you have a mistake, it'll highlight that mistake almost immediately. So here, for example, I've gotten rid of a semicolon, which is necessary to end any statement in Java. And you can see I've got a little red X. Let's assume for the moment that I wasn't really paying too much attention to that and I closed the file. If I go over to the Problems tab, you can see I have an error. I can expand the error, double click on it, and it'll take me pretty much to the exact spot. From here I can make my correction, save the file, and then I can compile and run it once again. Now the editor here is not just for working with Java files. For example, Android relies on using XML files for the visual layouts that your users interact with. So here I have one called main.xml, which is in a layout folder. I'm going to open up main.xml, and you can see that I can look at it visually and also in its raw XML state. So here, when this comes up, the first thing I need to do is set up my environment a little bit. Right now it's targeting Android 3.0, which is a tablet platform. I'm going to switch that down to Android 2.3.3, and you can see it looks a little bit different. And then in terms of a screen resolution, I can also, of course, choose which one I'm supporting. So in my case, I have the HVGA. So this is the exact size of the screen that I have in my emulator. There it is. And I can work with this visually to some degree and also using the XML node. So at the bottom I have these tabs that let me switch back and forth between the graphical layout and the raw XML, which is also this same layout. Now, one thing that I find useful is having the properties panel available to me at this time. So it isn't anywhere on the screen, so I'm going to bring it in now. I'm going to go to Window, select Show View, and I'm going to go to Other, and I believe it is under General. I'm looking for Properties. I'm going to click OK. And Properties got loaded. Now, you can put it just about anywhere you want. So if you wanted the Properties panel to be in a different spot, you can certainly do that. Just simply drag and drop it wherever you feel it should be. I'm going to leave it right here. And what it lets me do is, depending on the component that I select, I can visually modify its properties. So for example, here is my text view, which contains this text. I should be able to find the settings such as the color, the string that it's using, the text size, whether or not it's bold. I can even change the typeface. I'm going to do something simple and just change the color. Okay, and you can see now I've selected red instead of green. I can make the font a little bit smaller, 32px, and I can choose a different typeface. Okay, you can see it's slightly different now. And I think I'll make that go back to normal. And so you can see you can edit some of these things visually in addition to editing them here in the XML. So for example, if I wanted to make that larger again, I can change the 32 to a 40. And if I wanted to make the make it a different color, back to green for example, you can see that I can do that. So I can do that in a number of ways. When you see a little asterisk at the top of the file, it means that the work is not saved. So you can always hit the save button or the save all button to commit your changes. Control S also works. Control S is a good shortcut for saving your work. Okay, I'm going to close down the main XML and I'm back in my code window. Make sure everything is saved, and you can close that as well. So this should give you a very basic overview of Eclipse. Since this is the editor that you're going to be working with almost all of the time, this is something that you're going to learn and pick up really quickly. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through absolutely through every menu and feature. We'll pick that up as we go along. Okay, it's time at this point for us to create our own new project. So in the next video, we'll create this Hello World application from scratch.